Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is LaShawn Foster, and I am the president of the Tamara Smiley Hamilton Aspiring Speakers Advanced Toastmasters Club. And I'd like to, on behalf of our club, welcome you tonight to our special event hosting our accredited speaker program members. Our club, the Tamara Smiley Hamilton Aspiring Speakers Club, is actually a club whose mission is to help Toastmasters members who would like to become accredited speakers. We offer mentorship, we offer training, we offer direction, guidance, input, and opportunities to give the longer speeches that you will need to sharpen your skills to go into the accredited speakers program. So that is why we're hosting this event. We have some really talented accredited speakers here today. You guys are in for a treat. So we would like you to sit back and enjoy yourselves. There are a few ground rules, however, before we begin. We ask that everyone would keep their cameras off and keep their sound on mute until you are called upon to speak. There will be a very robust Q&A session towards the end of the program where our moderator, Val DeFord, distinguished Toastmaster, accredited speaker, will pull your questions from the chat, and she will make sure that everybody has their question answered. So if you have questions during the course of the event, we ask that you please kindly put them in the chat. You do not raise your hand. So no need to raise your hand. We won't be calling on anyone during the duration of the program. Once we get to the Q&A session, we will call on you and we will give you a chance to raise your hand and be heard, or we will answer your questions that are in the chat. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my fellow club members for assisting with this event. I'd like to thank Ms. Bessie Smith, Distinguished Toastmaster, Mr. Xavier Wong, Distinguished Toastmaster, Rachel Hooks, Distinguished Toastmaster, Tom Pfeiffer, and this is the team. This is our team. They've worked really hard to put this together, and I'd like to thank our accredited speakers for stepping up to assist us with this event. You guys are the real MVP, and I look forward to the wealth of knowledge that you all will be sharing with us this evening. At this time, I am going to yield the floor to our moderator for the night, the facilitator of this program, Ms. Val DeFord, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, LaShawn. Such a pleasure to be here today. And as a member of the Tamara Smiley Hamilton Aspiring Speakers Club, I welcome you. As an accredited speaker, I'll tell you just the tiniest bit about our club and how it came to be. Tamara Smiley Hamilton was an inspiration to all of us. She was determined to become the first African-American woman to receive the accredited speaker designation, and she did it. I was blessed to be able to walk across the stage a few minutes later. I'll take second place gladly. But Tamara was the person who just made you feel like you could do anything you wanted to do, and all you needed was belief in yourself and the assistance of people who believed in you. She could make people believe that they could do it, and that is why it was her desire to have this club. Unfortunately, while she was putting the club together, she passed. It was totally unexpected. She had just been on an amazing cruise where she was teaching people how to be vegans, living the good life, and then it was her time. So it was so distressing to those of us who knew her and loved her. And I was asked to step in to be the mentor for the club. And then I became a member because it is a great club and you might think about joining us. Since that time, we have had people who come in, have the opportunity to do those speeches that can last 20 to 60 minutes, have the opinions given with love while we fall forward with friends to learn how to do those speeches in a way that people will want to have you to come back, will want to pay your fees, and will qualify you to get the accredited speaker designation. I will not say anything more. I will bring up my colleagues and friends, fortunately from all over the place, who will come on board. We will have a panel discussion. We will answer questions that have already been submitted to us. And as LaShawn said, drop your questions in the chat and we will get to them as we can. And then we'll have an open mic session at the end. First and foremost, I would like to bring up Cheryl Roush. Cheryl is our person of seniority as far as the speaking profession goes and the accredited speaker. You were the youngest person to get the accredited speaker. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
The youngest female, yes. And out of the 93 up to August of last year, I was number 28 overall. And at that time, the judges were all men. And I didn't even know that there were any women who had already received the designation before me. I was the 6th female, but still to this day, the youngest female. And we'll talk more later. I'm thrilled to be part of the program. It's really my heart of Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, I would love to bring up Stephanie. Stephanie, I had the opportunity to do her thing on the stage in the Islandsman. Stephanie Angelo, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a newly minted accredited speaker. I'm number 92, and I did get that designation in August. And you helped me with that when I was back in the early days of preparation and fretting over details and confusion. And we'll talk a little bit more about, the career that led to that, which will, of course, help answer questions for the people in this club and the guests that we have who want to learn about the designation.
Thank you. And next, and definitely not least of all, is Dale Reese-Bevan, who also was looking at the coconuts and the palm trees as she figured out the words she would say on the stage. Welcome, Dale.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here and lovely to represent Down Under as the second ever accredited speaker for Australia.
Wow. And I especially appreciate the fact that you're trying to get your body clock, your circadian rhythm, and the whole mishmash of, I think I should be awake or should I be asleep? But we thank you so much for being here.
Oh, that's just another day for me.
Speaker life, right? Let me give an overview to those of you who have not had a chance to look at what the Accredited Speakers Program is about, and then I will ask each of my colleagues to say a little bit about their journey. The Accredited Speaker Program is set up for people who are already being paid to speak. It is not necessarily for you to learn how to get there, but there are many of you who are in the audience right now who would definitely qualify to be paid. I had a gentleman the other day to say, well, I'm not getting paid speaking engagements except for sometimes when I go to conferences or sometimes when I was like, did you say sometimes you get paid? That means you're a paid speaker. It may not be your main gig, which wasn't for him, but because of his expertise at work, he was called to speak to other people. So don't think that it has to be a nightmare to get there. We will talk more about it. So let me start off by asking Cheryl, what made you decide to be an accredited speaker?
I was attending the Toastmasters International Convention in Las Vegas one year to receive a top 10 international newsletter award. So as for my club, and I didn't even know there was life outside of my club. And then I received this top 10 international design awards being a graphic designer. So I went to the convention to receive my award. then I thought, well, what else is going on around here? Because people are just buzzing. At that time, there were probably 3,500, 4,000 people going. And I thought, wow. And I popped into the session that wasn't really well advertised. And it said something about, are you good enough to be pro on all of the program materials and what I saw? And I thought, wow, that's a really good question. So I went into the session. There must have been 500-600 people in that particular auditorium. There were speakers. Now that I know that they were trying for their level 2 qualification speech, where they actually do it live and the judges are intermixed throughout the audience. Well, the one person I remember from that was Robert Barnhill, a very tall, slender Texan from Lubbock. And he was talking about the child in him, about the treasure. And he was just so eloquent and authentic. And I thought, whatever it is that he's doing, I want to do that. So I started finding out more about the program, picked up the brochure. For me, because the title of the handbook at that time said, "Are you good enough to be pro?" I needed to find out. So I did. I went and thanks to the accreditation, I learned my confidence, credibility, and it gave me a lot of clout still today. And I started speaking probably 6-7 months in when I joined Toastmasters, which was March of 1987. And I earned my accredited speaker in August. It was August 21st, 1993. And here's my hardware. Let's see, can we get it?
Can't see it, unfortunately.
Oh,
Well,
anyway, it's
we'll
really
put it up.
good. It's
Yeah,
some
we'll
serious
put it up.
hardware.
Awesome. Now, Stephanie, what made you decide to be an accredited speaker?
I first heard about it when I was contacted by somebody here in Phoenix that was working on her DTM, and her project was to run the Speakers Bureau that we have here, which I actually was later the president of. And I had not heard about it before, and it really sparked my interest. It was 2018. I had already been speaking for 18 years at that point. And to me, the designation really was the culmination of a career. It represented to me, yes, I am a professional speaker. I have a body of work. I've been perfecting this career. I keep my records. I have my clients, all of that. And so for me, the accredited speaker designation was a way to really say, this is for real. And I want to show my clients that I am a dedicated professional speaker by getting this designation.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. And now, Dale, tell us why you decided to be an accredited speaker.
I think very similar to Stephanie. I had people around me in the Toastmasters community who knew that I was already speaking professionally, and from time to time they'd say, "Come on, Dale, when are you going to do it? Australia needs one. When are you going for it?" And I think it's one of those things. When you're speaking professionally, as you know, it's a lot of it's survival. It's like when's the next booking? Where's it coming from? So you're focusing so much on your business, and the accredited speaker just seemed one of those, a lot of admin and a lot of extra work. But once someone approached me and said there was a club in Canada that helped accredited speakers, so I joined them and got a little bit of mentoring there. And once I realized, actually, it's just, filling in forms. And if you've got the gigs, you've got all the background and as Steph said, the records and documentation, it's just the next step. So when I realized it wasn't that hard, it was lovely, and what an experience.
Thank you so much. I guess I'll give my short story. I had been thinking about going for the World Championship of Public Speaking. And when I had the opportunity to go to Kuala Lumpur, I love to say that, in Malaysia, I had the chance to see the World Championship. And at that time, it was simply amazing. It was the first time I'd been to an international conference and got to see all that. And as Cheryl was saying, somewhere on the side, there was something for accredited speakers. So I was like, what is that? I went inside, I saw people standing there doing their thing on the stage, and I thought, I could do that. I do that for a living. Maybe having the designation will be great because I believe that Toastmasters is the best kept secret in the world. It's a really great program with, at one time, 350,000 people as members. What is a better networking opportunity than that? But that was my thought. And then when I ran into Cheryl, because Cheryl, people said, well, if you want to know what to do, make sure you talk to Cheryl because Cheryl is the one who knows, and she did. And I talked to Cheryl and the community of people in the accredited speaker group. I'm number 81. They're incredible. They always help. They're always willing to mentor, and there's no charge for that. If someone charges you, that's called coaching. It's not mentoring. So make sure that you know, those of you who are thinking about it. If you want to give somebody money, there's someone who will take it. But there are a lot of us who don't want your money. We just want you to shine. All right, let's get into some questions that have been asked of us. One of the questions that people want to know and understand is about the actual requirements. And Cheryl, you referenced them a little bit, but let me jump to Stephanie to say, because you're already a speaker, did you have any trouble at all putting together the application form that requires you to have 25 speeches outside of Toastmasters?
I've been very open about that in other interviews and podcasts that we've been invited on since getting the accredited speaker designation. I first applied in 2022 and had really struggled a bit because of COVID, having knocked down the attendance to a lot of my presentations by many people. And there was a sentence in the top of the application that I misinterpreted in terms of the 25 speaking engagements, 15 of which yada da da da. And so what happened in 22 was that 7 of my presentations were rejected. And I went back to the folks at Toastmasters and I talked to them about that sentence, which they've actually changed on the top of the application to make the requirements much more clear. In 2023, I did try again. And at that point, I did have easily enough presentations for me. And it's probably another discussion that we're going to have on this meeting today. But for me, one of the difficult things to submit was the video. Because all of my presentations, I'm very much a workshop presenter. So my presentations are an hour and a half to 4 hours long. So getting that video that was 20 minutes to 60 minutes without any editing was really difficult. And I had one presentation that was a virtual one, but that one was recorded and that one worked. In terms of some other things though, Valda, the way that I had put the time, I would say like 1.25 for an hour and 15 minutes. They came back and they wanted me to change the way I wrote in my times. So I had to clean that up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we will definitely get to the video because that is something that stops more people probably than anything else. Sometimes it is ambiguity in the wording, but fortunately we have our team of accredited speakers where we have the opportunity now to have a lot of input back to World Headquarters about, this isn't working because it doesn't make sense to us as the people who are being determined as professional enough. And so now, Dale, tell me, when you were getting yours, since you were already speaking, you said you had been speaking about 18 years. So what was your greatest challenge in getting ready and putting the application together?
Also the video. So a lot of places don't like the material recorded. There's privacy, confidentiality, all sorts around that. And so finding the right booking to get that done is difficult. And then I actually failed my first application because I managed to line up an event where they agreed to the recording, But I like Steph tend to be more of a workshopper. So even if I give an hour talk, there's a lot of interaction, a little bit of games, activities. And I had it in my head that the accredited speaker judging panel would be looking for as close to pure speaking as possible. So I presented a half hour with a little bit of interaction, but mostly me presenting. And of course, ironically, the feedback was, you need to interact more. So the following year, I did it again. And this time I just went, okay, I'm just going to do me. This is what I do. This is how I present it. And that got through. So I think there's a really good lesson there. Don't mind read. Don't assume. Just be you, do what you do, and the chances are that's the right thing to be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me just clarify a little bit for people who are wondering about the video, since we jumped in there a little bit. The requirement is that you have a video that is made in the same type of audience, a non-Toastmasters audience. It must last from 20 minutes to 60 minutes. It can't be under 20 and it can't be over 60. It's just like, think like a contest on that. It's a hard stop. The video must be seamless in that there can be no editing. For those of you who are already in that place where you have the big walk-up music and maybe some videos being shown, none of that is really important. And especially if your videographer is cutting from one place to the other and it has to be put back together, automatically disqualified. One seamless video, and I'll show you how I did mine. You were talking about worrying about the audience. I'd had so much of a kerfuffle, snafu, any other disastrous type things with all my videos. And they had been very high definition, beautifully done, but my videographers just could not stick to the no editing because they wanted high definition. I said, let it be grainy if it has to be. But I got my own audience of women that I wanted to teach about health. I got my own event place. I brought them in because you do not have to have every speech paid. And I had the cameraman, the videographer, know to start with the introduction, pan back over the crowd, because it doesn't matter how many people you have in there. If they can't see them, they ain't real. And then keep it on me. And then when it's finished, pan back over the crowd and it's done. So don't make it harder on yourself than you need to. Now, Cheryl, I know you have helped so many people. No, don't do that. This is what will hurt you. Please think through this. What has been a thing that you found most difficult for people who are applying to get?
Thank you. And by the way, I also resemble what you did because I did my level 1, I booked the hotel, one of the name brands, paid for luncheon for the women to come in. The program was higher self-empowerment for women. Remember that all the judges at that time were men, right? Remember that. The introducer did a fabulous job. It was a non-Toastmaster event. It was fabulous. And I did a hard stop with the introduction, no edits. You are spot on. That's one of the things that's absolutely critical. You can be disqualified for that. Something that I would also suggest is that, oh, and by the way, TI came back, Stephanie, they came back and said, you have been passed for level 1. The judges do recommend that you consider an all-encompassing audience for level 2. It's like, okay, did. Anyway, all right. So one of the things that I find is that the candidates for accredited speaker think that it needs to be Toastmaster-ish. No, it should not be Toastmaster-ish at all. The judges are looking for, would I hire you? Would I recommend you for a paying gig? As accredited speakers, we're looking for, would I want to speak on a program with you? If I were putting my own money into a public workshop, would I invest in seeing you? We want to see the subject matter expert that you are. We want to feel authentic, whether it's workshop, whatever. We've even had one of our candidates do Oh, cardiopulmonary CPR on a dummy, on a table, on the stage. So it's whatever. We've had people who have done magic and passed. So it doesn't matter what your topic is. Do not think it has to be Toastmaster-ish. And the more that you can veer away from Toastmasters into the professional realm, that's what we want to see. What do you do that you get paid to do? That's what we want to see.
Absolutely. And the thing that has hurt people is they are, and even people who are pro speakers, they're thinking of looking like it is the world championship of public speaking, where
It's
they
not.
make sure every
Mhm.
gesture is correct and everything is there and it's three parts of this and this. No, it is showing your depth of knowledge. That is what it is. And the judges are looking like, okay, if you're a financial planner, if that's your gig, would I want you to plan my finances? If the answer is no, you probably won't get through. And we have had any number of things. I spoke on health, and there were people who said, well, why would anybody pay a speaker on health? Hello, health is one of the most lucrative industries in the entire world. Because if you ain't got your health, you ain't got nothing, right? It's what my
Yeah.
grandma always said. So going on to talk about what do you speak on, Stephanie? And then next, Dale, what do you speak on so people will get an understanding of the types of topics?
Well, thank you for the question. I speak on company culture. I also intertwine leadership and strategic thinking, cultures of learning and other elements, but they all relate to company culture. And I speak on that. And if you saw the presentation that I gave in the Bahamas, it was based on a word called ethiture, which is ethics and culture combined. And it's a word I came up with and trademarked. And the presentation is that it's about how the ethics that you have in your company culture create, or the values that you have in your company create the culture that you have in your organization. And so that's what I based it on. And what I touched on very lightly was that I also invented a company culture board game that helps the participants in the program actually put that into practice and develop goals for the organization. So that's really the bulk of what I deliver to my clients.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Dale.
I speak on topics under the umbrella of presentation skills and communication. So largely presentation skills, confidence, as I spoke on at the Bahamas. And I have a few bookings this year already for a talk that I've recently developed called Fearless Feedback, which is all around psychological safety, how to improve your communication skills when giving and receiving feedback.
Okay. And Cheryl, what do you speak on besides being an author or Heart of a Toastmaster and other things? Tell us your topics.
Thank you. It's always been positive mindset. When I first started in the speaking training industry, it was overcoming negativity in the workplace, which I needed to find a positive spin on, which then out of that came Sparkletudes. So I have a book written on Sparkletudes, but it's how to keep a sparkling attitude. I'm a business communications expert with 47, I'll be honest. It's 47 years in marketing, graphic design, printing, and publishing. And that, boy, helping people to speak and market like a pro as a coach consultant and also as a speaker, and organizations hire me from nonprofit sector. Dale and I, we were talking about this earlier, from nonprofit to not to profit to, matter of fact, one of my clients opened up on the NASDAQ in New York City this morning. So I was in tears seeing her on the stage. So I love helping people bring out their brilliance. And a lot of it has to do with attitude. So from overcoming negativity into creating a positive work environment and sparkling all the way.
Awesome. And Cheryl is really the person who knows the most of the transition. Let's say you're a bit of a historian because things have changed. No, I mean, in the most positive way, because when we're asking, is this what always happened? You'll say, no, it was worse. This is better. This is better. Now we talk to each other. We even have our own Facebook Messenger group where we can drop things in. If we're looking for a speaker to do one thing or the other, we just drop it there, and folks usually respond pretty well.
We refer. Before you proceed, if you would please tell us about your topics. You've kind of hinted. If you would please go deeper, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. My main topic from the beginning was on diversity, inclusion, and equity. Now, back in the day when we called it cultural competency or any number of things, my concentration has always been on healthcare and law enforcement. Why? Because if you get it wrong, someone may die. You cannot always fix your error because you don't understand the language, you don't understand the culture, you do not respect what the person is doing, believing in, praying to, or loving. And therefore, errors are made that cannot be forgiven or forgotten. Now, my main concentration is on decreasing infant and maternal mortality. So a lot of you won't see me out there, or you won't see me putting online who I spoke to and where I was, because my concentration is on making sure that mothers and babies survive. And unfortunately, here in the United States, we have some of the worst numbers, actually the worst numbers in the developed world. Shame on us. Let's do better.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about, someone has asked if you are a budding speaker, or you're already at the point where you have 25, or within the 3 years before you apply, you can get your 25 speeches outside of a Toastmaster audience. Do you need to have all the bells and whistles of a professional speaker, like a website that's professionally designed, a YouTube channel? Are you on Instagram and Facebook all the time? Would anyone like to take that on? Yes, Stephanie.
I'm happy to. I'll just put my thoughts in on that one. I think in terms of applying for the accredited speaker designation, having a website is not mandatory. They just say, if you have one, here's where you put it on the application. I will say, however, in today's world, if you don't have one, then it's a little sketchy in terms of having your clients find you. It's a little weird in terms of having them believe that you really are legit. I think that websites can do a lot for selling us. It gives our clients an impression of what we do, how professional we look, how we present ourselves. I think that the website is the best marketing tool. In terms of social media, I think you need to pick your battles. So, for example, I'm on LinkedIn. I have an Instagram that I don't really use a whole lot, and I have a Facebook page, but LinkedIn for me has been the best route to having clients find me. In fact, I booked a presentation today that will be next December in chilly New York, but it's because of the person finding me through LinkedIn.
Anyone else have a comment on that? Yeah, Cheryl.
I'm a big fan of social media. You need to be found. If you want to be hired, referred, you've got to be found. So for me, like Stephanie, yes, LinkedIn, yes, Facebook, absolutely at least one website. So for instance, each of my domains have their own websites. But matter of fact, would you like us to put our links into the chat box for our websites? Would you like us to do that? I do believe we need to be found. We do. So you need to have a presence.
And here's something that's important to know, because I have suffered from not having done it. That is, keep your website up to date. I did get mine redone. Cheryl knows this whole mess, so we won't go into all of it, but I did get mine redone. I didn't really like what the new design was. The designer didn't really pay attention to what I asked for. He didn't use my colors. He didn't use a lot of things. So it's been just sitting out there for about a year. But my website is out of date. The last time it was updated was maybe 2017, probably in anticipation of going for the accredited speaker designation. And what event planners or those people who hire you, most of the time they're considered as event planners, whether they're the HR people or the marketing people in the company, they are planning an event and they need you. They want to be able to say, oh, I saw her video. I saw his YouTube. I saw his TikTok. I saw whatever, because the proof is definitely in the video. And another thing, get the highest quality video that you can get. But if you're sending them through on TikTok and Instagram, they do not need to be professionally done. You just use a good camera, get a phone that has a good camera, and they don't have to be expensive. Like Google Pixels have really great cameras, and just put those up there. Learn how to do the simplest editing, or go out on a site like Upwork or Fiverr to get someone who could do that quick down and dirty editing, so you can just get content out there. Dale, do you have anything to say about this, or shall we move on?
Ditto.
All right, awesome. I love ditto. When it comes to, well, let me back up and say the things that you'll need to do. Number one is look at the application. Look at the handbook, and we've dropped it in the chat, but we'll drop it in again as more of you have come on. And the first thing it says is read the application thoroughly. Make sure you read everything. Do not be afraid, ashamed, or scared of reaching out to us. I'm telling you, there are at least 20 people who are actively doing mentoring all the time, and probably more. It doesn't hurt to get 2 or 3 people's opinions, because if I'm just definite about your video has to be this way, it has to be 1080p, blah, blah, blah. The secret of a video is, if the quality of the video isn't perfect, the sound needs to be. Remember that, because their eyes will definitely work on getting to see the picture, but if it's grainy and snappy and going in and out, they'll just stop. And I can tell you that I will even show you my video, which I should have just drowned, burned up, and otherwise disintegrated it, because it's horrible. But it's on YouTube, and I leave it there for those like you to go out and see that that video got through. It was professionally done, but the lights went off in the place, and so it was dark. But the audio was perfect. Okay, so it passed. All right. So what do you think? When you have to do this, you read everything and read it again. People have failed going through because they misread, as compared to what Stephanie was saying. That was pretty ambiguous. There are some people who just plain not read it. Understand you have to have 25 talks in the 3 years before you apply, and in front of a non-Toastmasters audience lasting 20 minutes to 60 minutes with one smooth clip. After that, you have to get recommendations from people. I didn't find it difficult to get recommendations. And Stephanie, you said something that was important. You keep records. You keep up with everyone that you're seeing. That's a great thing for even getting more referrals. But did you have any problems at all, or anyone want to address on how to get the best references or letters of recommendation?
You know, the interesting thing about the letters of recommendation is it, for me, was not hard to ask previous clients because I had plenty of them. It was thinking, who do I think would give me the best one? Now, what the accredited speaker doesn't know is we never get to see those letters of recommendation. I have no idea what those people said. I also submitted, I think, 7, and they told me, okay, of the 7, which 5 do you want? Now I had to choose 5 without even knowing what those people said about me. So you know, it's kind of like this knock wood. I hope I'm picking the best people. That was a really good conference. That was a really good presentation, those kinds of things. So you're sort of flying off the seat of your pants and really hoping for the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that I got recommendations from the people who had hired me multiple times. So, because if they didn't like me, hopefully they wouldn't still be paying me. Anyone else?
I'd like to say that one of the interesting things about getting those letters of recommendations is often you deliver a talk and the client pays and they say thank you very much, but they're busy. They've got to get back to the rest of their job and their lives and so on. So going through the process of asking for a letter of recommendation, hearing how effusive they were and how happy they were to do it, you suddenly think like, oh gosh, I didn't realize you liked my work that much. You know, they were just so responsive and so willing to help. So I think that's just a nice little side perk of going through the whole process, is realizing your clients really value you beyond just handing over a paycheck.
Okay, Cheryl.
I'm following the questions in the chat here, and it was interesting because one person is asking if 20 minutes, on a panel counts. So what we're doing right now, no, it would not. And one thing that I would add is to keep in mind that every audience that we speak to needs to be more than 20 people or more in every audience. That does not include your videographer, is my add-on to that. But anyway, so panels don't count, and yes, you need to include your introduction. Was there more on that? I'm sorry, I was.
No, it's okay. I was
Okay.
just thinking about the recommendations. One thing I would say, as you've heard,
Oh, we needed to have them where they were mailed into us. This is back in 1993. So when you were talking about the video, mine was on VHS. So I'm just kind of thinking, I am the historian here, aren't I?
that's
Go ahead.
okay. The important thing to know now is that your link has to be to a live video. So it has to be on YouTube or on your website, but mainly they want it on YouTube. I don't know why,
Or
but
Vimeo.
or
Or
Vimeo.
Vimeo.
Yes, one of those sites that you put your videos on, not one that may have been dressed up and perfect. The other thing is, when you're talking about recommendations, use LinkedIn the way it is set up, because one of the most important things on your LinkedIn page is your recommendations. And those people who are giving you recommendations there can be the same people, if they paid you, who can recommend you later. And you can see where they are. What I found, Stephanie, was that people sent me the copies. I just wanted you to know what I sent in. And I was like, okay, now I can charge you more next year. No.
Or put it onto your speaker one sheets. So that, even though that's not really under social media, because we can put what's called a speaker one sheet into our LinkedIn profiles. And I had the privilege of working with Tamara Hamilton on her marketing and her branding. And I'm so thrilled and proud to have been
Yes.
blessed to know her.
All right. Many people ask, what is the benefit of having your accredited speaker designation? Does anyone want to speak to that? Okay, Steph.
Should I start? Sure. It's a little early days since we got them. This happened in August. So, I think a lot of people think suddenly all our clients are going to come running. It hasn't quite happened yet. I also was out of the country for about a month and a half right after I got the designation, so I didn't do any business. It has opened up a lot of conversation, though, with potential clients. And for example, the person that I spoke to today about the event that I'm going to do, it'll be actually 4 events in New York this December. That really opened up that conversation to say, here's what it is and what it represents. And so I think it sparks a lot of interest in that sense. I think that it might depend on the bureau or the event professional, whether they put a lot of weight into it. Some will, some may not. I think it has been absolutely tremendous in opening doors with Toastmasters. The number of Toastmasters clubs that have come to us and asked us for help, to ask us for guidance or input or participating on a panel like this in already a short period of time has been absolutely amazing and so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I could jump in, I've had the opportunity as a result of people knowing about the accredited speaker designation because Toastmasters has a special place for us. And nowadays, as compared to a little while ago, when you go to Toastmasters International website, it will show accredited speakers, world champions, and you can click on the link to see what we do, what is desired. But I've been asked to speak in the Philippines. I was fortunate that the Philippines has the only club specifically for nurses in the world. And because I'm an RN, they invited me to be at their opening, their grand opening, to be the keynote speaker. I've been asked to come back again this year. I've spoken in South Africa. I have spoken in Australia. I have spoken in Canada. I have spoken in the UK. So these are places that because of COVID, we only did virtually, but now I'm being asked to come physically to those places. And for those of you who are not Toastmasters, you may not know Toastmasters do not get paid to speak at Toastmaster events. However, you are provided for, your accommodations are paid for, your travel is paid for. You might get an allowance for food, or they just feed you to death while they're there, whichever the case may be. But it's really great. So imagine if you've never been outside of your home state and somebody is calling up from Thailand to say, please come in, or calling up from Trinidad to say, come during Carnival. Oh, yes, indeed.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
Now,
Oh, I have a short story there. When I first met Dale and her husband, Alan, I had been booked for speaking at her district conference in Australia. So while I was there, they booked me for 17 presentations different in 21 days. And I remember because Dale was speaking at that conference, and I was one of the first people who came over to you and said, have you considered the accredited speaker program? I was talking to both you and Alan, and Greg Van Borsum hadn't even yet earned his accredited speaker too. So like you as well, let's see, I know when I was looking at my calendar right now, between now and mid-May, 18 presentations, including on-site for districts. So when we take a look at what has the accredited speaker done for us, it is on my website. It is in my speaker introduction. It is on my speaker one sheets. Because when I can say that I was only the 28th overall, and you figure through Toastmasters membership right now, it's over 4.3 million people who have participated in the program since 1924, and that you say that you are one of 93 accredited speakers honored by Toastmasters International in 146 countries, ... You see the spin on that. It gets people's attention because as my introduction is being read, often I see, the hands come up like, really? This little lady might have something to say. There
exactly.
you go. So what it did for my confidence, the credibility, the credential, absolutely. And I think that it does confirm, I think, Stephanie, as you had said, it confirms that, yes, I am a professional presenter.
Mhm.
Can I add to that? I had an experience recently talking, I was training a group of engineers, and I mentioned that I was the second accredited speaker in Australia. And you could see a few little eyebrows raising. And at the end of the day, we were talking about takeaways. And one of them said, I like what you said about establishing your credibility. And I noticed in myself when you said you were the second accredited speaker in Australia that I kind of sat up a little bit more and thought, she's got something of value. So I think it does, the scarcity factor is a big thing in being able to promote your credibility.
Yes, exactly. There are plenty of people asking about TEDx, so I think we should go ahead. I know, Cheryl, you've been answering them online, but the point is the TEDx talk typically is not 20 minutes. It's getting shorter and shorter. It might be 13 to 17 minutes at this point. What is out there is always edited, but If you are talking, as someone said, about the body of your presentation, if you had a way to have that go straight through, it's fine, where the introducer says, here you are, and there is no editing, as is true in some of the smaller TEDx stages, it would be appropriate. However, TEDx very often does not show the audience. So remember that you must demonstrate that there are actually 20 people or more there. Anyone else have? The TEDx is great. It's a great opportunity to get yourself feeling really smoothed out to talk in front of what, a couple thousand people at Toastmasters for the international conference. Yes, Stephanie.
You know, I think that's one thing that's very fortunate about those attending the meeting now is they're going to be basically post-COVID, because when I did my video and was applying, it was really during the crux of COVID. And the presentation that I was able to get videotaped was on Zoom. And of course, the client had it recorded in speaker mode so that I was the focus of it, as should be. But I, like Dale, in an instance from the accredited speakers who were the judges, that came back and said, well, we really didn't have a lot of audience interaction. And my fear had been, well, if I have them videotape this in gallery mode, then the accredited speakers who were judges are going to say, well, we couldn't really see you present because you were only 2 by 2. So it was a real debate on how to go about that. Fortunately, my presentation had interaction, it had chat, and had people talking with me. But I have to say that that was a really difficult time. And I think that those coming into it now have a leg up in that instance and getting their video in front of an audience so you can see interaction.
Right, right. I think that one time it was determined that in order to know how many people were there, if it was just the speaker view, you could actually take a snap of the participants at the bottom. Another thing that you could do, knowing that you're recording it that way, is to have the gallery up so they can see, and also you're seeing the number at the bottom. Then switch over to your introducer, do your thing, and when you're finished, have them switch back over to gallery view. Even if they don't switch back, they saw that they were there when you started. And that was one way I helped someone with theirs. But someone has asked, how often do the rules change for the accredited speaker? They don't really change a lot. They got clarified specifically for when we were doing those virtual presentations that had not been allowed before COVID. And it got qualified on how much you have to speak that's paid. In my understanding, or at least my interpretation, when I was looking at how many paid speeches that I have to have, I just saw 25. That was not a problem because I was speaking 50 to 75 times a year. I could just pick my 25 out of there. But now it is 25 speeches outside of Toastmasters, 20 people or more, 20 minutes to 60 minutes. And 15 of them have to be paid. And within the 15, there are some allowances if the speaker fees aren't what we typically think. Like for me, if someone asks me if I speak, the next thing we talk about is, when is it? How long is it? What is the theme? And then they ask me, what do I charge? Or very important for new folks who are trying to get in this realm, many times the amount has been determined. Do not talk yourself out of an amount by saying, oh, I'll speak for a chicken sandwich. And they were like, you know, we used to give a turkey. Anyway, I did that because as part of the speaker ethics, we can't talk about how much we get paid, because then that becomes price fixing. It's up to you to do your research. You can have an individual privately tell you anything that you want, but we cannot be telling you that. Okay. Any other good questions? I'm trying to read and look and blah, blah, blah all the time. As far as the mentoring, I see that just as a heads up. Cheryl, do you want to talk about mentoring?
Well, I did go ahead and put the link because many of us are available for mentoring. What we suggest, and you may have more than one mentoring. So there's some information. I posted it twice in the chat with the link directly to the mentoring page so you can see who we are, is please do your homework first. Read the entire application, start filling it out, have your video ready so that you are prepared before you reach out to us with questions. So one of the questions I know that I've been receiving recently from potential candidates of the application period, which is due January 31st, coming up straight away, is, well, what about TEDx presentations? What about if speaker bureaus book you? How do you indicate that onto the application? Well, because your speaker bureaus can submit the client recommendations for you because they are different engagements. Do they count as different engagements? Yes, they do. Can you post, if you speak twice or three times at the same event, can you post those as 3 different events? Yes, you can. Were you paid differently for each of those, or can you divide what that full day rate was between the 3? Yes, you can. You still need to have 20 or more in each of those sessions. So then there's a question regarding the compensation. So whether it's the 25 engagements, 15 or more need to be compensated. Read the rule book regarding that. You may not trade as in kind for things, but it does give you some, again, more clarity. And the question regarding how often are the rules updated, whenever needed to stay as close to real world professional speaking in the industry. And we are aligned with 26 other global speaker federation associations around the globe, that our program influences some of theirs, and that theirs also influences ours. So it's not, thank you very much for that question, Kathy. Is it like the speech contest that it's updated every year? No. And going for the accredited speaker professional designation is not a contest. Let's go there for a second, because every candidate may pass. This year, there were 3 of the 4 candidates that passed at level 2. So let's see, was it your year, Valda, that you and Tamara passed and all 7 or 8 of you passed? That was unprecedented and absolutely earned. Each of the 7,
6 of 9. 6 of
6
9.
6 of 9. Okay, because there was another year that it was every single one, and it may have been the year following you. Anyway, it was 7 of 7 that each earned it at level 2. So every person can pass, follow the rules, get a mentor or 2, read through everything before you reach out to us. And we do want you to pass. The red carpet is out. We want you to pass first time, preferably. I did pass my first time in spite of that the judges were all of the other gender. So it's possible.
Let me just say that where everyone can get through, it also can be that no one gets through.
That's happened as well.
Steph, I saw your hand.
You know, I wanted to add something to what Cheryl said about, can you combine presentations if you speak at a conference and have multiple presentations? There was an instance where I could not do that, and let me explain it. I spoke for a group in Canada, and I had one presentation that was going to be a very small number. I think there were 15 people. There was another presentation that had 300 in the same conference, 2 different days. The client would not allow me to say that I was paid this amount of money for this presentation that had like 300 and partially for the other one because of some sort of an accreditation or CEUs or some sort of agreement they had. So be careful what you put on your application, because you don't want to falsify information and get yourself in trouble or get your client in trouble, because if you do that, they will never ask you back again.
It's true. So in this particular case, if I were a judge and if I saw 15 as an attendee on the application, that would be disqualified. It's as simple as that. So it didn't even matter because too, you can decide how you break it up for the payment on the application. The question was, though, what it comes down to is 15 people in one presentation and 300 in the other. The 15 would not qualify on the application as currently stated.
It was actually the money part, not the people.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I heard was 15 regarding people. So that's one of the eligibilities. But the money, so the money, you can decide how that is. And again, all of this is on the honor system. So, and thank you for having the integrity, Stephanie, especially since you teach this. So it's, so thank you for that. All right.
Yeah, what
so
I
did
meant
we-
was one of the presentations was paid and one was not, even though it was the same conference. So I couldn't make it look as if I was paid for both.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, that's cool. I know one question that has come up is when you get the accredited speaker designation, do we have a responsibility to speak at a certain number of Toastmaster International events, whether it's TLIs or workshops? The answer is no. The answer is we usually love to because it gives us the opportunity to just show our stuff. And this is what I'll tell you for those who are worried about giving paid speeches. Just this weekend, I gave a speech that I was not compensated for in any way, shape, or form. I put my own money out there and it cost a fair amount, but I was speaking on suicide because suicide now is the number 3 leading cause of death in people 10 to 24, and the number 2 leading cause of death for people 25 to 34. So, especially college students, 1 in 20 is always thinking about suicide. And so we have to normalize that conversation. So it was worth it to me. However, I spoke for no fee, and guess what? I was asked to speak at 3, count them, 3 more conferences where I will be paid more than a pretty penny. So anytime you're out there, it's marketing. Don't think, well, this isn't for pay, so I don't have to do as well. You are your own best advertisement and your own marketing. When you're on the stage, rock it every time, and someone there will think, I need them. Now, I know, Dale, I don't want to leave you out, and we're coming up on our time where we may stop for a moment. Is there anything you would like to tell us? Because you're on the other side, the side where things swirl backwards when they go down the toilet. So tell us, is there anything else you know?
I hope that wasn't a reference to my career, Valda. I think just to comment on the paid and unpaid, it is such a tough one because what I find interesting, I do a lot of work for the not-for-profit sector. And I've even had experience where I've said to them, well, this is my fee. I know you're not for profit. If that doesn't work for you, we can arrange something. And they have come back and said, we're okay with that. So whereas I've also had huge companies want to negotiate my fee right down to really almost insulting numbers. So, I think sometimes you've got to really stand up for yourself and say, this is what I'm worth. This is my value. I hear you, Valda. Sometimes things are absolutely, the potential is there and the exposure is very real. But other times they're offering you exposure, but actually what they're doing is saying we don't feel like expanding our budget, or we want to, and then you'll find out that they've paid other people, and I think you've just got to be really careful and savvy and do what feels right.
Yeah, I mean, I was mainly speaking in terms of as you're trying to get those 25 speeches.
Yeah.
You not
Yeah.
concentrate on them being paid because they will become paid. And so I'll give my quick journey to being a professional speaker. I was not trying to be a professional speaker. I call myself an accidental, incidental, coincidental speaker. I wanted to get tenure at my university. And I
Yeah.
did not want to do research. I didn't want to write white papers. I didn't want to do all of that stuff that I considered boring. But I figured if I spoke on what I knew, which was at the time, I owned a cardiac rehabilitation agency in the Caribbean. So I spoke on the Caribbean, cardiac rehab, and the culture.
Mm.
And
Wow.
so I put my first thing out there to speak, and it was at Mayo Medical Center. And so when I did that, I thought they won't accept it. Guess what? They did. I got in to do a breakout, and no one was there when it was time for the breakout to start. So just get yourself in the mind. I was like, oh, great. I paid to come here. Well, my dean probably paid, but I paid to come here, hotel, all of that, flying to Rochester, and no one is in the room. So I said to the monitor, look, the only person in the room, me, you, and this woman I've been talking her ear off for the last day or two. She already knows everything I'm going to say. How about if I go to someone else's room? And she said, at the Mayo Clinic, if we say we're doing it, we are doing it. So talk to me. I was like, no, I don't want to talk to one person. I was feeling embarrassed, all of that. And as it happened, the keynote speaker, I was the first breakout after the keynote, was still going over time, which is stuff we don't want to do as speakers. But that person was really, really good. And so they allowed her to continue speaking. And then by the time I had been speaking 5 minutes, my room was full. It was standing room only. I was in there acting crazy, playing steel pan music, showing great images. Remember that. Don't
Yeah.
be cheap on stuff when you're putting your images together. And I was asked to be the keynote the next year. I was like, what? People pay me? Get out of town. So do your best, do it all the time, put your best foot forward, and you will get paid.
Mhm.
All right, so we are coming up to the time where we need to come off of our panel, but before then, I want each of you, if you have a final thought, something we haven't covered yet, something that's been dropped in the chat that we can answer quickly, do you have a final thought that you want to make sure that these amazing people who've been sitting here patiently listening to us can benefit from hearing?
Hmm.
Yes, Cheryl.
I'll go, and it'll answer a couple of questions in the chat, both at the same time. So what is the timeline? 25 outside presentations to non-members in 3 years prior to the date of application. So with that then, and Rich, your question, thank you. Does the amount of money you're paid affect the final decision? Not directly, comma, however, ... If you are truly a professional speaker and you are being judged by colleague professional speakers, we hope the best for you. And again, as Valda had said previously, we won't be talking about, well, what is that fee that you set? Give it your best. If this is what you do for your career, because this is a designation, it is a credential honoring you that this is what you're doing. And I know my plaque says for outstanding platform presentation skills. And here's one way that it has changed over the years. Back in 1993, it was awarded specifically for keynote presenting. I was a trainer. So it helped me bring in more keynote style. And it was also judged in 6 very different styles of presenting than what it is today. But going forward, be part of this. If this is your goal, for me, it was, are you good enough to be pro? I'll hand that right back to you. Are you good enough to be pro? Are you already pro and you just need to complete the application? Go forward, do it. Keep in mind that not everyone passes the first time. The record, by the way, is 8. And he will clearly tell you his story. It's Mohammed Shukri from Bahrain. And I met him at the Luncheon Network table during one of our conventions. I think it was Washington, D.C. And I was sitting there with accredited speaker Eldana Lewis Fernandez and had just given a presentation regarding how to earn accredited speaker with Rochelle Rice. And he sat down and he said, so why would I want to do this? And he did. And his wisdom for us too is that don't speak on what you think the judges want to hear. Bring your best every time. Bring your subject matter expertise. We want to see what it is that you do, your magic, and hire and refer you as well. So the red carpet's there. Get it together, go for it. If not this January 31st, get it all together, because you do want to have it all together before you submit. Meanwhile, reach out to us for mentoring. When you have your application, you have your video that you'd like us to take a look at. And in the application, you can also submit supplemental materials, which might be a photo of the gallery of that presentation, as Valde had also. I love your suggestion even better, though. Really
Okay.
bring it every single time.
All right, Dale.
I think the two things I'd like to leave everyone with, if they're looking at building their business and maybe eventually going for the accredited speaker, one is support each other, recommend each other. Sometimes it's a lot easier to advocate for someone else than ourselves. So if we're all doing it for each other, then that helps get people their bookings. And the other thing is, one of the key things I did when I first arrived in Australia to get work was I approached an umbrella organization, the Centre for Volunteering, and I put on a free workshop. And the criteria was member organizations could only send 2 people. So in other words, they couldn't train their whole staff through that. But what that meant was I got that instant introduction to a whole lot of organizations who sent their people, and then that generated invitations for paid work in all the different member organizations. So I got a lot of exposure and a lot of introductions just from doing that. So target an umbrella organization, a peak body of whatever area that you're looking for, and that's a great way to get an in with a lot of people.
All right, awesome. Stephanie.
When I first found out that I made it through level 1 and had to prepare for the level 2 speech in the Bahamas, and of course we were able to choose, did we want to do it remotely or not? I reached out to one of the many world champions of public speaking that I know and asked one of them to coach me. And I won't say who it was, but I was working diligently with this person and paying them because I really wanted to make sure my level 2 speech was going to be good. I then had a conversation with Cheryl, and I told her what I was doing, and Cheryl said, "You're getting coaching from a world champion of public speaking who's never been an accredited speaker?" And I burst into tears. She's going to remember this. The sound of her voice told me I was making a huge mistake. If I were competing for the world champion of public speaking, what I was doing would have been spot on. But she caught me in the nick of time. I will never forget how glad I am that we had that conversation, because I had to call the person and say, I'm going a different direction. I scrapped the entire speech because basically it was that 18-minute long Toastmasters speech. And I redid the whole thing and gave an 18-minute snapshot of Ethiture, which was a workshop I did regularly for my clients. And that saved me. So my point is, talk to accredited speakers. I don't know that Dale and Verity and I are on the list yet of mentors because they haven't reached out and asked us about that. But I know that we're all willing, as well as all of the people that are on that mentor list. It makes a huge difference.
Mhm. Oh, wow, that's a great story. And again, they want to know your depth and not your slick. All right. So, and the thing I'll say to you is, and people I say in the National Speakers Association who are new, or people who are new in general, don't start off paying anything. Start with those of us who are here because we love it and we want you to do well. And we just want to increase the numbers of us who shine like diamonds. Start with us. And I'm telling you, if you will, especially pick multiple people, because you get multiple perspectives on what's important, but pick multiple people. I've had the opportunity to sit there and pay attention to who is, I'm marking my ballot and all those things. And what Cheryl said is really important. You want to know, is this a speech that someone is willing to listen to, willing to pay you for, and willing to refer you to be paid. Those are the three things. Was it good enough that you didn't feel like you wasted your time? Would you pay me my fee? And would you refer me to someone else who is looking to pay a speaker? Those are the three things most important. Don't spend a ton of money in the beginning. Don't wait till the last minute. And now I can see that our president is back, and we're going to say bye, y'all. We'll be here for questions. Thank you so much. And back to you, LaShawn.
Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to thank Cheryl, Valda, Stephanie, and Dale for so generously giving of their time to be with us tonight to impart all of this valuable knowledge. Knowledge is power. Just like Stephanie shared, it saved her. She was going on the track of being a world champion of public speaking. And a lot of us think we equate the two. We think they're interchangeable. And that's huge. It's not. It's two different things. So that nugget, that jewel alone really helped me. And I'm sure it helped all of you. So I would just like everybody to take a moment to give them a virtual round of applause for what they did tonight. This is awesome. I cannot say how much, I can't even express how much we appreciate what you ladies did tonight. And we thank you so much. As Cheryl shared in the chat, that this is a club, this is an advanced club. Tamara Smiley Hamilton Aspiring Speakers is an advanced Toastmasters club specifically geared towards Toastmasters who would like to become accredited speakers, who want that mentorship, who want to hear other accredited speakers speak. And the unique thing about our club is the way it's structured. Our club meetings are not structured like your normal Toastmasters meeting. Instead of table topics, we have a professional speaking lesson of the day, which is set up kind of like how this program tonight was set up in a panel style where you give a presentation for maybe 20 minutes and then you take Q&A. So you get to practice that. We have slots where our club members can give anywhere from 5 to 7 minute speeches to 45 minute to an hour speeches. A lot of regular Toastmasters clubs I don't know any normal Toastmaster club that would allow you to speak for an hour because nobody else would probably be able to get on the agenda. But our meetings, the length of our meetings and the way they are structured lends itself to that. This is that safe place where you can get up and try to give a 20-minute speech or a 30-minute speech or a 45-minute speech. We also, when we do our evaluations, if you're doing a pathways speech, you get 2 evaluations. You will get your pathways evaluation, and you will also be evaluated from the Accredited Speakers Program evaluation form, and you will get that. And that's a different type of form. It's different feedback. It's more objective. It's not hand-holding. It's not a hand. That form, the ladies here can tell you, that form separates the shirts from the blouses. It's kind of not, it doesn't go easy on you, kind of like pathways evaluation. It's a humbling evaluation form, I can assure you, but that's the kind of feedback you will need to get yourself in the right mindset to submit your packet. You're going to need that type of feedback. And plus, Valda, we have a resident accredited speaker in our club. So you have somebody right here in our club that you can reach out to, ask any questions, get their feedback, get their advice. Valda will not steer you wrong. We have Cheryl comes through and she visits sometime, and now that we have Stephanie and Dale, they're always welcome. Whenever they have time to come through our club, you guys have an open invitation. So we definitely would like to extend an invitation for people to join. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the criteria because this is an advanced club. So I just want to share my screen for a moment. Here we go. So this is the criteria for our club. Okay. Let me get that a little smaller. Can everyone see that?
That's our Tamra. She's holding her AS plaque, wearing her badge, and the beautiful roses, I believe, were from her son.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm going to go over the criteria. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. To join this particular club as an advanced member of this club, potential members need to be active Toastmasters in good standing and in a club in good standing. So you need to be this needs to be your supplemental club. You need to already be a member of a Toastmasters club. And I believe you need to have been an active member for at least 6 to 12 months. Potential members must have achieved either an advanced leader, advanced communicator award under the old system, or under the traditional education program, because some of us have accumulated a lot of legacy awards. I know I have. I have a legacy DTM, or completed level 3 in one path in Pathways. Potential members must be committed to actively pursuing the Toastmasters Accredited Speaker Award designation. The Tamara Smiley Hamilton Aspiring Speakers Toastmasters Club, again, is an advanced club chartered in memory of our beloved District 27 Toastmaster and accredited speaker, Mrs. Tamara Smiley Hamilton, Distinguished Toastmaster and accredited speaker. We were chartered on August 17th, 2020, and the club's mission is to provide guidance, mentorship, encouragement, and a platform for Toastmasters who are embarking upon their journey to become Toastmasters International accredited speakers. So if this is you, and you would like to join with us, I'm going to ask that you stick around once we adjourn. And if you're ready to join tonight, we have our membership, vice president of membership and other club officers here where we can go into breakout rooms and we can get you processed to become a member of our club if you know that you want to join tonight. Or we can provide you with our contact information, our meeting times. If you want to come and visit some of our meetings before you make a decision, you're absolutely welcome to do so, whatever you feel comfortable with doing. But if you would like to discuss that further, we will be here at the conclusion of this event. Once we adjourn, the club officers will be here to talk to you further and answer any additional questions you may have. I think I see something I would like to continue to visit, but I am interested. Absolutely. We will stick around for a few minutes after we adjourn, and we will provide you with the information regarding our club meetings, when we meet, how to come visit us, whatever it is that you need, we will provide that for you. Again, I just want to thank everybody that registered. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be with us tonight. We greatly appreciate you. And we appreciate our outstanding accredited speakers: Cheryl Roush, Distinguished Toastmaster; Val DeFord, Distinguished Toastmaster; Stephanie Angelo, E5 in Pathways and accredited speaker; and Dale Reese-Beaven, Distinguished Toastmaster and accredited speaker. You ladies are the most valuable players. I'm speechless. This went so well, and you did a great job, and we so appreciate you. And you have an open invitation to just pop in and speak at our club whenever you whatever you want to speak on. We are here, and you are most welcome at this club. We thank you so much for what you did for us tonight. And with that, I am going to, before I close, because we have like 6 more minutes, did any of our accredited speakers have any final words? Valda?
I would just say, for those of you who have jobs now where you do a lot of speaking and training, you are right there. You are right there. You can just move straight into this program and we can help you design it. Another thing that I do as a person who's been speaking professionally since 1999, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, then I use this format to test out my new talks, because I can get people who are not who might be in my typical audience to say, I don't get that, or yeah, that's great. Why don't you throw out those 3 points? And I'm doing that for a 35 or 40-minute speech where they are telling me, I love it, I don't love it, here's what's great. And I can tell you, having that practice in front of people who are willing to tell me what I need to know always makes it better when I go on the big stage.
Thank you. There was one question that someone put in the chat, and I don't think it was answered. And I think it's a really important question. And any of you ladies can answer it. I think someone asked, do you have to have started on pathways or have a certain amount of paths to go into the accredited speakers program? Do the two tie into each other in any way?
Yes, yes, there is a requirement, and we put the handbook in there, and in the handbook, it tells you specifically what you need, and I believe that you have to have completed at least one full path, or if you were already in the books before pathways, if you were already advanced communicator bronze and one other, but you
Or
have
above.
to have demonstrated that you have gone through a program of study in Toastmasters. So in the old books, it would have been the communicator manuals, but you had to be an advanced level. So now you have to have gone through all 5 levels in a path and completed it in order to be able to move forward.
True. And you do not need to be a distinguished Toastmaster. That is not a requirement because distinguished Toastmaster is identified and honored for leadership, not necessarily for speaking.
Mhm.
And I can attest to that because I am by no means the best speaker in the world. I will not be competing for the World Championship of Public Speaking, but I hope to, when I grow up, become an accredited speaker. So there's that.
Yes, absolutely.
All
Okay.
right. Well, what I am going to do, because I did see a question about the flyer, I have everybody, if you registered via Eventbrite, I have your email address, and I am going to email everyone the flyer. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to email everybody the flyer that has the criteria for membership in our club, as well as the information about the dates, the days that we meet, when we meet, what times, and how you can visit us. You are welcome to give a speech, even if you visit. If you would like to give a speech, just shoot me an email and let me know, and we will put you on the agenda. If you want to come and test out what it's like to do a 20-minute to 45-minute speech, just to see if you have the stamina to do that yet. You do not have to be a member. If you give me enough advance notice, we will get you on the agenda so you can have at it and you can get feedback from Valda and the other members of our club. We are here to help you. We are here to encourage you and provide resources and information for you. And we would love to have you visit and ultimately make our club one of your Toastmasters homes. All right. Are there any more questions or are there any more comments from our panelists? No? All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for their participation tonight. I am officially calling this event adjourned. This recording will be uploaded to the D27 resource page on our District 27 website, as well as all of the accredited speakers will have a copy, and I believe they may be uploading it. Someone asked Cheryl, will this be uploaded to the accredited speakers YouTube page? I don't know the answer to that.
I would say no, because that is a TI YouTube
Okay.
channel. This is a special event specifically for your advanced and specialty club. So it is not interrelated. However, we may put it onto our YouTube channels as well as onto your district and onto your club. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, again, good night, everyone. If you want to join and you're ready to join and you would like to sign up tonight, please stay on the Zoom and we will get you sorted out. If not, look out for the email in the morning with all of the information about the club criteria and how to visit our club. Take care, have a nice evening, and again, we appreciate you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, sisters.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right.